Well, good afternoon and welcome to another webinar in our webinar series, The Virtual Brown Bag, brought to you by the Central California SBDC region, hosted by the UC Regional Network and presented by the 5 SBDCs in the region, be it the CSUB SBDC in Bakersfield, Fresno State, the Cal Poly SBDC, Monterey Bay SBDC, and the Valley Sierra SBDC. So welcome all. I'm Kelly Bearden. I'm the director of the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center, and I'll be your moderator and host today. I think we have a great webinar planned for you today on selling to more or less institutional type buyers, your government, corporate buyers out there that I think a lot of our small businesses could always do more business with. So a little bit about the SBDC program. It's a program in all 50 states. It's hosted nationally by the U.S. Small Business Administration and actually presented down to a local level, all the way down to the regional network, again hosted by UC Merced. And then also we have, in addition to the 14 counties that we cover here, all the way to the top of Mono County, the southern point of Kern, east to Inyo County, and then the Pacific Ocean on the left on the west coast. We have 14 different actual counties in this region and an SBDC near you to help you. A little bit, there's kind of where we're at. But what we do at the SBDC is provide high quality consulting and also a number of training events. And actually, you know, I have a video here that sums it up a lot better than I do.
The California Small Business Development Centers are the state's #1 resource for current business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. Our 43 SBDC centers throughout the state offer no-cost expert one-to-one business consulting, training, and online courses in a variety of areas like startup assistance, debt and equity funding, attracting and retaining customers, international trade, product commercialization. Our consultants are current and former small business owners, ready to assist you with even your most complex business needs. So, if you are looking for a loan or equity capital for your new tech venture, want to build a new website, need help starting or expanding your restaurant, or would like to sell your products internationally, make the California SBDCs your first step. To get started, simply visit us online to find the location closest to you at californiasbdc.org. The California Small Business Development Center is ready to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
So, yeah, that's a little bit about what we do. In addition to all of that, there's a special program that we're working with right now with the Employment Development Department. As many of you know, the EDD is now requiring e-filing and e-paying of your state payroll taxes. And that is effective right now if you have 10 or more employees. Starting this quarter, that was actually a return that was probably due later this month, I believe on the 30th. If you don't have 10 employees, it's going to be effective January 1 of 2018. And if you need help, most of our SBDCs, if not all of them, have a consultant who can assist you on taking you through into the website and going over the examples that are there for e-filing. So if you need to, please take advantage of that. On to our webinar today. Our webinar interaction is basically, you're kind of going to be in the muted position. So all of our attendees are muted. If you look at your dashboard off to the right, you have a right-hand arrow. You can click on that arrow and actually open up a box and ask a question. We encourage questions, and we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation today. So please feel free to participate in our polls, ask questions, and interact with as well as we can do on an online basis. For the best audio, if you're connected by the phone, you need to make that designation on your dashboard by clicking audio. If computer audio, if you're having any issues as far as echo or any other thing that doesn't sound right, usually that will repair the problem. And then there's an audio pin if you're joining our webinar today by phone. And if you're online, just leave it click to the computer audio. At the end of our webinar, a survey will pop up, and please take the time to complete that. We value your opinion not only on the quality and the aspects of today's webinar, but we're looking for future webinars and any topics that you have and suggest, any presenters, whatever, we're willing to look at all options. And lastly, if you do fill out the survey and you want a copy of today's handouts, please let that be known. And if you want to review the webinar again, the webinar should be on our website here at the CSU Bakersfield SBDC. And our website, just a quick address, is csub.edu/SBDC. So, moving right along, let's do a poll first before I introduce our featured presenter today, Vernita Naylor. And trying to do a poll, we'll try to gauge and see where everybody kind of stands at this time on this particular subject, and I'll launch the poll. And the poll question today is, how well do you serve institutional markets? And by institutional markets, we're asking for corporations, utilities, government, and others along that line. So please select the following. Not very well. How well do you serve institutional markets? Not bad and getting better. Or perhaps the next choice, pretty good or pretty good. Excellent if you're doing those markets very well and you're looking for another thing to add today. And then lastly, not at all, is our last choice. We've got right now about 61% of you voted, and it's great seeing such a great audience out there in Webinarland today. 72%, it keeps coming in, and most of you have not at all selected as far as serving institutional markets, so I think that'll be a great framework for what we're going to do today. 0% on the excellent. And then not too bad, not well, and not bad either are also listed. We'll take the time now and close the poll, and let me share the results with you. And there we are. Half of you ended up specifying not at all, and 21% don't serve it very well. The pretty good and the not bad, about a quarter of our audience today, so maybe you'll pick up something that really helps you. But it looks like we have a lot of people who are wanting to serve these important markets, and we're glad to have you here today. Okay, so let's get on with our presentation. And today, we're really privileged to have a noted author with us, and that is Vernita Naylor, and she has written a book called Get the Most, or excuse me, the name of the book is To Get the Cheese and Avoid the Traps, and that's what we're going to do today. Vernita is a sought-after speaker, a business advocate, a certified supplier. She has chosen one of the top 100 top pioneering businesses nationwide, invited to the White House to speak on behalf of businesses and procurement, and to Capitol Hill, certified construction project manager. She has a fine pedigree of educational credentials from UC Berkeley, also San Francisco State University, regularly works with small businesses. I hear she's working on another book, and so Vernita, let's take it away. It's all yours.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to do something so I can, okay. So you can see my screen, right? Okay, so thank you everyone for having me today. I am so honored to be a part of this program. Today we're going to be talking about selling to government and corporate buyers. Get the cheese, avoid the traps. I'm hoping that you will be able to glean a lot of information in this short period of time that I'm going to be with you. But it's my understanding, as Kelly stated, that if you're interested in understanding more about these programs, make sure you let the SBDC know, so then more programs can be created to help you to grow your business. So let's get started. A little bit about me. Kelly stated some of the things. Once again, I am a former government employee, federal government employee from GSA, in which I covered every area within GSA, from where they manage the GSA schedules, to relocation services, to commercial real estate, to being a construction project manager. And I had a passion to help businesses like yours to understand the supplier diversity in government contracting programs. So I resigned to do just that. And I've been doing that for over 15 years. Also, I have been the former MBEIC Vice Chair for the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Diversity Council, in which I was an advocate to really help business owners to create partnerships with Fortune 500 and government buying agencies. And also, I'm an owner of my own company, Jabez Enterprise Group, in which we provide education and support services to business owners, and we help buying agencies to really hone in on creating more viable proposals and more outreach efforts. My book, Get the Cheese, Avoid the Traps, it's a do-it-yourself, hands-on, step-by-step online guide that's going to help you to go through all the steps that is required to be a viable supplier. So what we're going to be talking about today is get prepared, what is required, date your customer, and connect the dots. In order to be a business owner, we must always think about, we have to learn how to take control. And what that means is that you as the business owner is the business. So what it means for you is to make sure that you're operating as a viable business owner, because you are who will control your destiny. To do that, be true to yourself. Be true to who you are. This is very important, because what I found out is that as a business owner, you're representing your business. And your business creates transparency as you are operating your business. As you create transparency, then you'll be able to create a partnership with your ideal customer. One of my favorite authors is Stephen M.R. Covey, the author of The Speed of Trust. And he states that when trust is involved, speed occurs. When speed occurs, cost goes down. And what that means is, as you are operating your business and you become a trustworthy business owner, then the operation and doing business is accelerated, meaning that you can get business quicker because you're trustworthy, meaning that you don't have to spend a lot of marketing dollars or do a lot of things just to get someone to notice you. Because if you're operating effectively as a business owner, then your name is going to get out there that you're a quality business. So make sure you be true to yourself. Make sure you understand who you are and start being transparent and creating a level of trust, because you want to be able to minimize the dollars that you're spending so that you can be able to spend that time and effort on your goods and services and providing a quality service. I have a mantra. I always say when I'm teaching, whether it's group facilitation or individuals, don't think small or your limitations, always think business. As I started researching for my book, I started reading books on Apple, HP, Walmart, Starbucks. And I noticed when they first started, their decisions were not based upon them being small. Their decisions were always based upon being a business who make decisions based upon doing better. So in doing better, you want to make sure that your decisions and how you're thinking is as a business and not a small business. So make sure that's understood. Everything you do, start thinking as a business and not as a small business. Let's get prepared. One of my favorite shows is The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis. And with Marcus Lemonis, which things that he always says on his show is that if three things are out of sync, your business will fail. That's people, product, and process. People, product, and process. Take some time and think about your top 3 ideal customers. And what I mean by that is customers from the Fortune 500 to the government entities, whether it's state, local, or federal. So take some time to think about that. Who would your ideal top 3 customers be? Now, as you have those in your mind, think about them as we go through the next couple of slides. Your people. If you are not effectively operating your business, it's going to fail. Think about, do you have the right people in place? Even if it's only you. Are you the person that needs to be running all the operations, doing all the management, facilitating the activities of your business? Even though it may be just you, think about the talent that you need to outsource. You want to always, in order to play the game and to avoid the traps, is to be able to have the right people in place to be able to manage, operate, and function within your business model. You might need to fire somebody, even if it's a family member. But the people that you have in place is going to be what will make your business succeed or fail. Your products or services. Without the proper products or services being functional, then your business can fail. A good example was Blue Bunny ice cream, where they had to pull back a big stock of their ice cream because people were getting sick. And the issue was that they did not have certain things in place when it came to their products. Even though they were a company, multi-million-dollar company, operating for decades, when you're scaling up, you got to make sure that your goods and services, your products, are of quality, and that that quality continues as you grow. So no matter what it is, make sure the quality continues as you grow. Your process. Your process is important. Like going back to the Blue Bunny example, they were churning out a lot of ice cream, and they put some ice cream on the floor in containers. I'm not sure was the containers in the refrigerated area or in another area, but they churned out so much ice cream that they couldn't contain it properly. And the ice cream, my understanding, melted, but then they were able to freeze it and they shipped it out. By them shipping it out, the consumers start getting sick. So you want to make sure your process is clear on how you're running your business. Because as you outsource, or even the talent that you have in-house uses your goods and services, they should know the process in which you manage and operate and control your goods and services. So make sure it's very clear that you have a clear process. So where's the money? The money is tied into the supplier diversity and government contracting programs. There are 2 separate programs, so we're going to talk more about it. Remember when I said your top 3 ideal customers? As you can see, there's a lot of customers that's part of this program. NASA, Nordstrom, Barnes & Nobles, Smithsonian, Costco, your city, your state. Everyone is a part of this program. So when you're thinking about your top 3 ideal customers, Don't limit yourself. Think about your goods and services and who you would love to do business with. We'll talk more about what does that mean, but keep in mind your top 3 ideal customers, because as you can see here, that there are so many buying agencies around the world. This program is not only within your local area, but it's regional, statewide, nationwide, and even internationally. So think about that. To bring it home, as you can see, there's a FedEx truck here. And I was at the marina, and I just happened to look over at the truck. And normally, we all just notice the FedEx truck. But as you can see in the lower area here, the manpower has been contracted out by Tried and True Delivery. They are part of the supplier diversity and government contracting programs. So even though FedEx is the company, the goods and services are being provided by, in this case, Tried and True Delivery. Tried and True Delivery could be providing this service just locally, or it can be within Northern California. So as you can see, when you look at different types of trucks or different types of goods or services that you pass by or that you purchase, there's so many companies involved in this program. We're going to talk about this program being right now the supplier diversity program. Supplier diversity. What that means is you have to be able to classify under small, minority, women, LGBT, and veteran-owned. That classifies you as a disadvantaged and underrepresented business. Again, small, minority, women, LGBT, and veteran-owned classifies you as a disadvantaged and underrepresented business. Also, if your business is located in a historically underutilized area, according to the SBA map, then your business can qualify as well as a disadvantaged and underrepresented business. You want to be able to find out what your customers provide and require before you decide to go after certifications. So let's talk about certifications next. There are so many certifications that's out there. Local, state, national, regional, that you want to be able to know what your customers require. You want to be able to date those customers. We'll talk about the dating process a little bit later, but I just want to show you there's so many certifications. These are the main ones, but this is just a small fraction of the certifications that are out there. So you have your SLEB, Small Locally Enterprise Business, your DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, your Hub Zone. That's the one if you are located, your business located in a historically underutilized area, that's the Hub Zone that's being managed by SBA. Then you have your MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, WBE, Women Business Enterprise, WMBE, Women Minority Business Enterprise, 8A, Business Development, SDVOSB, Service Disabled, Veteran-Owned Small Business, and WOSB, Women-Owned Small Business. Then, depending upon your certification that you require because of your agency or your buying agency request, you go to the certifying agencies. So as you can see, it's so much. So that's why I always recommend that you find out what your customers require. Those top 3 customers you're thinking about earlier, what do they require? What certifications do they require? Then you go to that your certifying agency to get the certification from them. So let's talk about a little bit more before we go any further. Okay. This is important because if you remember nothing else, remember this. Once again, this is the Supplier Diversity Program. There is about $536 billion being spent every year on goods and service. The numbers can go up and down, but it's always in the billions, okay? As I talked about, remember, Supplier Diversity Program is part of this spend, okay? We talked about there's so many certifications out there that can be used to help you to grow your business and participate in this $536 billion effort. As a part of the Supplier Diversity Program, there's a mandate to spend at least 23 to 50% with disadvantaged and underrepresented businesses. So think about that. 23 to 50% of spends of this money, $536 billion, with you as a disadvantaged and underrepresented business. Unfortunately, less than 35% of the businesses nationwide, those that are operating as a business, there's only 35% of those businesses that are certified. For example, in California, there are about 1 million businesses, and less than 1% are certified. So think about that. Less than 1% of businesses, there is 1 million businesses in California, and less than 1% are certified. So there's a lot of money to be made in this program. Now, the government contracting arm is a different arm. You may hear someone say to you, we do not have a government contracting program, and they do. And what that really means is the fiscal responsibility, the fiscal accountability. Any company you can think of, from Google to NASA to Whole Foods, they have a government contracting arm because they're getting government dollars. So if someone says to you, we do not have a government contracting program, then just go to their website, see if they have a supplier diversity program, see if they have contract proposals and bids they request, see if they have contracting opportunities, see if they have a procurement process. If they have those things, then they have a government contracting program. A lot of times you find that people are working a job and they're not really cognizant of a lot of things. So they may not think they have a government contracting program, but they do. Because as you're getting government dollars, just like with any nonprofit, and there's monies to be received, there's accountability that's tied to those dollars. And that's why these companies, Google, LinkedIn, Norton Virus, NASA, that's why they have a supplier diversity program, because there's fiscal responsibility that they have to be mandated to do in order to keep those dollars coming into their companies. So all this ties into your top 3 ideal customers, and it's very important to think about that. So now we're going to talk about what is required. So when you're thinking about your ideal customers, you got to think about what is required in order to do business with them, right? So you should have your business already in place. From your legal business structure, meaning are you a sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, meaning that you should have your brand already created and consistent. You should have your employees in place. And even if you don't have employees in-house, at least have a list of outsourced vendors. So as your business grows, you can readily access them when needed. Also, you want to make sure you have a solid infrastructure for growth. I have had a lot of companies I've consulted with to help them locate contracting opportunities. And as they quickly grew, they lost a lot of the contracts because they were not ready. So you want to really make sure you're ready. Some other things that you need is a DUNS number. A DUNS number is the same as your personal Social Security number, but it's a business accounting profile number for your business. It's specific for your business. That's a DUNS number. Also, you want to register in SAM. A lot of companies, Fortune 500 companies in particular, are using a lot of the government tools to help them to find companies to work with. So you want to make sure you're registered in SAM. And SAM is a database where you will create your profile and it will tell you, hey, who's your company? How many employees? What's your banking account information? Put in your DUNS number. So it will give the buying agencies a snapshot about your company, and it will ask them to be able to find out who you are and what you do, and then they can contact you from the information that you provide in the SAM profile. Also in the SAM profile, you should list your business classification codes. By understanding your customer and dating your customer, which we're going to talk about soon, you will be able to know which business classification codes to go after. There are so many codes that's out there. You may have heard of NAICS codes, SIC, UNSPSC. By knowing your customers, it will not only tell you which certifications to go after, which certifying agencies to go after, but it also let them know which business classification code system that they use. Your business classification codes, what it does for you is to help to clarify what types of goods and services that you provide. For example, if you provide food, there's a business classification code for that. If you provide manufacturing, there's a business classification code for that. So you really want to know which codes are required as you're building your profile in SAM and for any other things that may be needed as part of the supplier diversity and government contracting programs, because each of these programs are going to ask you for the same information. So once you create this information, create a document, put it on your computer, because you're going to continually have to populate different types of systems using the same information. It's important to really be able to research and find out what companies offer, what they need. You are the expert as a business owner. It is your job to provide a solution to their problems. Yes, you have the goods and services, but you want to concentrate on their needs. Once you concentrate on their needs, then you'll be able to be more effective in your approach. Remember, as you are being trustworthy, which increases speed, which decreases dollars being spent. So you don't want to waste a lot of time going after a company that do not provide or offer or need the goods and services that you have. So you want to make sure you're very well aware of what their needs are. As you begin to do that, you'll understand the whole process a lot better. Because once you're working from your customer's perspective, then you can work backwards to make sure you're becoming more effective in your approach. Now let's talk about dating your customer. What does that look like? When you're dating, what do? You find out everything you can about that person. That's the same thing you're going to do with your top 3 ideal customers. You're going to just do a lot of research on that company. You're going to go to their website. You're going to look at who are their customers, what they provide. And what I mean by who are their customers, for example, NASA. NASA not only have astronauts in space, but they provide goods and services to other stakeholders. So you want to be very clear about your customer, because they not only provide things in-house, they provide other things elsewhere as well. So you want to know a lot about them. You want to know what is their capacity reach. So then that way you'll know if you can be able to be a viable supplier to them. So do you have to only do things locally, statewide, regionally, nationally, or internationally. Just like the FedEx example, just say hypothetically, they got a contract with FedEx and they agreed to only provide services nationally, or they only provide services locally. It really depends upon not only what the customer have on their websites, but the agreement that you have with that company. For example, I've helped some companies get into Whole Foods. And before we started, I said, well, you got to think about Whole Foods is international. Okay, they're called different things in other countries, but they're international. So I had them do a marketing plan and a strategic plan to show Whole Foods not only will they be willing to just provide the goods in-house locally, but this is their plan of how they're going to scale up. Because there are micro purchases and set-asides and different things that you can get by being a disadvantaged and underrepresented business. So you want to be able to really think about a strategy to really scale up. And how you do that is to date your customer and find out everything about them and be true to yourself, like I said earlier. Be honest about your capacity, but don't let the program scare you. Just start small. Not act small, but start small. Taking a little bit at a time, making sure you fully understand the ins and outs of the program. Because as you do this program, you want to make sure financially you're able to sustain yourself until you get paid. Because sometimes it can take 3 to 6 months to get paid. So you want to make sure when you're dating your customer, you fully understand what is required. What is your deliverable rate? What is needed? You want to be able to make sure you can stand out. And how you do that is, once again, date your customer. Find out everything about them. Make a connection with the customer. As you date them on their website, they'll tell you how to do that. They also list their outreach events. Go to those events. Get to know them. Let them get to know you. But make sure you understand everything about them. Register in their company portal. Each of the companies will tell you how to connect with them. Like, for example, U.S. Bank, Ricardo, he wants you to email him your capability statement. And we'll talk about capability statement later. But he wants you to email him your capability statement. Wells Fargo, they want you to register in their registration portal. Each company is different. As you're dating them, they'll tell you how to connect with them. PG&E, they list all of their events they have coming up where you can just go and you can meet the buying agencies. So you want to be able to know what is required. When you're registering, make sure your information is up to date and consistent. That's the time you can put your best foot forward. You can tell them who you are, besides them going to SAM or any other portal. I've had people like Comcast and Starbucks contact me by registering in their portal for upcoming opportunities. That has allowed me to get a lot of business and get a lot of money. So you want to be able to make sure you put your best foot forward by standing out. Upload your supplier diversity certification once you get it. Upload your brochures. Upload whatever information that you have that will allow you to be the best person that they can ever consider. Because once again, it's all about relationships. You're starting a relationship. Because remember, when you're dating, you're getting to know someone. This is the beginning of that process. The capability statement. Look at the capability statement as a one-page business resume. You can use the back and the front, but make sure it's one page. The capability statement can be customized for the customer that you're going after, like one of the top 3 ideal customers that I talked about earlier. So you want to be able to make sure that the capability statement tells the who, what, when, where, why, and how about your company. It's a snapshot of everything about your company. But just like you would a personal resume, you don't give them too much, but you give them just enough to make them want to call you in for an interview. That's the same thing as your capability statement. The capability statement should give enough information, but not too much information, to make them want to call you to engage in a conversation. Once you create your capability statement, this is another tool you can upload in the registration portal. And this is the same tool that I stated that U.S. Bank requires for you to send them before they even begin talking to you. So you want to make sure that you have this tool in place. So what we're going to do is connect the dots. You want to make sure that you work out all the kinks in your business first before considering becoming a supplier to either your top 3 ideal customers or any customers. Make sure you've worked out your kinks first before you do that, because it's very important in helping you to move forward. You want to be able to make sure, as I stated earlier, don't think small or your limitations, think business. Always think business. That's what's going to help you succeed in this program. Once again, get prepared. Think about the speed of trust. As you're being true to yourself, as you become transparent, that increases speed. Speed reduces cost. Then you're on your way to establishing a relationship with your top 3 ideal customers. Remember, sky's the limit. Apply the 3 P's: people, product, and process. Gain a clear understanding of the supplier diversity and government contracting programs and what they are. Learn what the different types of certifications are and the certifying agencies that provides them. Find out what your ideal companies buy and look at their mandates. Remember, there's a 23 to 50% mandate. As a small, minority, woman, LGBT, veteran, or your business being in a historically underutilized area. Of those 6 categories, there's certain percentages applied to each. So know what the mandates are. Next, understand what is required. You should have a solid business infrastructure already in place, but make sure you know what's required to partner with them. Make sure you have a DUNS number. That's very important. Make sure you're registered in SAM. Make sure you understand and know what business classification codes are required. No matter what company, goods, and services that you provide, there's a classification codes designed especially for you. And one thing I always say is think out of the box. So if you make chocolate, for example, and you might be thinking about the traditional way of how, selling to stores, you make candy, what have you, but start thinking about cocoa. Start thinking about milkshakes. Start thinking about using chocolate in baked goods. You want to think differently because you never can tell how the business classification codes are going to be written up. And what I mean by that is the buying agency will type in a code or type in a word, chocolate, and then they'll find out what comes up under either that code or that keyword chocolate. But you might be thinking, okay, I can just say chocolate milk, but they might just put in chocolate. And then you might cross each other and miss each other because you didn't put in the right keywords. But that's when having a relationship is so important, because they can pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, we were looking for chocolate and I put in chocolate and your name didn't come up. So you want to make sure you understand what is required. Date your customer. I can't say that enough. Make sure you connect with them. Make sure you understand and know what is required to partner with them. Make sure you understand and know what certifications do they require. Make sure you understand and know if you have the capacity to service their needs, whether it's local, state, regionally, nationally, or internationally. Make sure you fully know and understand that. Also, you want to be able to provide a solution to their problem. That's the key, a solution to their problems. Another thing is making sure that your company is going to stand out. I can't stress that enough. So once you take all of these pieces together, they're going to be the catalyst to help your business to grow. It's going to take baby steps because you're trying to learn them, they're trying to learn you, and then you're trying to work through a system that you're not familiar with. But these are the steps that's going to help you to grow. They're called the supplier diversity and government contracting programs. I really have a passion about this because one thing that's happening, I'm noticing lately, is that gradually some of these programs are being removed out of the system. And I would hate that, especially in this administration, that these programs would be obsolete and that we would not have programs like this to help businesses to grow at a smaller scale than having to compete in the marketplace with larger businesses. So let's show Congress, let's show the government, let's show the world that we are going to take advantage of these programs, that we really appreciate having these programs in place to help us to grow, and that we're willing, ready, and able and capable of getting the job done. So I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. And if there's any questions, I'm ready.
Well, great, Vernita, and we do have some questions. And you still have time to get your questions in. So if you do, use the chat box on the right, click on the question arrow and ask your question. The first question we have, where can we find a map, or how do we find out if our area is underutilized?
Okay, so you go to sba.gov, or no, just do a Google search. Do a Google search and put in Hub Zone. And then the Hub Zone, no, put in Hub Zone map. And then the Hub Zone map will ask you to put in your zip code and your address. And it will tell you whether you qualify. And let me say this. When I first went to apply for Hub Zone, I was in the zone. 2 weeks, the map line moved. And I had to wait a whole full year or so because they did not move the line back. So Google Hub Zone map, and you'll be able to find whether you're in an underutilized area. But have all your documentation ready, because just in case they move the line, you got to wait until they move the line back, if they do.
Okay, great. Next question. Does SBDC or the speaker help consult a small business on how to apply to become a GSA supplier?
Can I ask? Let me answer that. Let me answer that part. Now, I'm not speaking from the SBDC arm. I'm speaking from GSA. I always tell businesses, unless you have done business through the Supplier Diversity and Government Contracting Program, I highly shun businesses away from that, because it costs $7,000 to $10,000 to get on a schedule if you hire a consultant, and because it's a lot of work. And you don't have to, but I recommend you already have someone who's going to buy from you from the GSA schedule, because after you spent the $7,000 to $10,000, GSA have a mandate that you have to have a project or something of $25,000 every year. So if you don't meet that $25,000 every year, GSA can take you off the schedule. So,
Okay, great. Next question. Is there a disabled person certification or classification code, or anybody that does certification or use that as a preference? And our question is not referring to disabled vets.
oh no, there's not. It's only disabled vets. So if you're disabled, then you have to see if you qualify under small, minority, woman, or LGBT, or in a historically underutilized area.
And the next question is, can you tell me a little bit about SAMs and how do we locate SAMs?
Okay, so it's SAM, and you do a Google search and type in System Award Management, and that's SAM.
Okay, great. So there's SAM for you, and SAM is a process to go through. The next question is related to certifications, and the question is, I have my small business certification for the state of California, but I am having a hard time getting work or using it. What can you suggest?
Okay, so I assume that you might be a SBE or DBE. I'm not sure which one, because remember there's so many. What I suggest is either you can go back to the company who helped you, you know, if it's an SBDC or it's an SBA or SCORE or whomever, and have them to help you now learn how to maximize that certification. That is part of my journey, is to, outside of people getting certified, is to help people to go to that next level. A certification is not enough. Now you need to learn how to maximize it. Now you need to learn how to create these tools. So I'm hoping that that person not only have had their certification, but also register in their ideal customer portals, register in SAM, get their DUNS number. You know, a lot of the things I talked about on the presentation today, these are other things they need to do as well for people to be able to locate them.
And Joe asks, is there a program for veterans?
Yes, Joe. It's called Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business. Veteran-owned small business. So it's two things. So SBA have a VA program, and the Veteran Affairs have a program. The Veteran Affairs is asking that you have, I think you're DD 214, showing that you have been discharged from the VA, and you have to have specific documents in place. So go to Veteran Affairs, just Google it. I'm a Google person. So Google Sam, Dove, Veteran, Oscar, Sam, Ball, and Veteran, Oscar, Sam, Ball. So Google those two, and then they'll pull up the SBA and the Veteran Affairs websites.
Great. Well, it looks like we are about out of time. I would like to remind everybody that Vernita has a great book out. It's available on Amazon and other places, called Get the Cheese, Avoid the Traps, an Interactive Guide to Government Contracting. And thank you for being with us this week, Vernita. Upcoming on our webinar series, next Wednesday, we're going to have a webinar on avoiding employee burnout. In May, we have a couple of webinars on the marketing topics, marketing in a digital age, which will marry traditional marketing with the new age of marketing with social media and digital marketing. And then on May 31st, our consultant, SBDC consultant, will talk about Facebook ads and a lot of the valuable things that are available either through Facebook, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that is on May 31st. So thank you, Vernita, for joining us. And for Vernita Naylor, I'm Kelly Bearden, and have a great day. Thank you very much, and goodbye, all.
Bye.